idea is to let people to have transparency.
Yeah, it says 7:06 it'll start.
Yeah.
It's 7:06.
Yeah.
It says published here.
Maybe there's a lag.
I say it might be for security reasons. Sometimes you buffer live video.
Yeah.
There might
One
be
person
something
watching
weird
it
happening.
says.
Probably you. Yeah, like if I send an e-blast, it'll say like.
Oh, it is live.
Before it goes out. For that reason.
Just so you know, and just a reminder, it is we are live now. And I believe it will be, if I did it right, it will be recorded and left there. If not, it will disappear.
It sounds like there's a
when we're done.
bit of a dust up at the
Okay, it is now,
zoning
is it
board.
7 o'clock
So-
yet? It's 7 o'clock, so let's call the meeting to order. Stephen Hardwick, the Clintonville Area Commission Zoning and Variance Chair. Want to any objections to the agenda? The only thing I'd say is I think we should put the consider previous meetings minutes up top above the demolition permit waiting period. Do I have any objection to that? Okay, did anyone get the email last night that had the minutes in? Are there any changes? Okay, do you have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
One abstain, so approved, so that's 601 with one abstention. Kelly is abstaining. Okay, the first item is on the agenda, that is the demolition period waiting period on 3810 North High. This is only to, I believe they have about 30 days left of their waiting period, and this is to waive the rest of it, assuming the commission approves next week. The applicant did come because at the last commission meeting, there were concerns about dust and some other projects. So do people have, is the applicant here? The applicant said they would be here. Move it to the end. Let's move it till let's say if we can bring it up after the next one, assuming they're here, assuming that he's shown up. Variance agenda, we'll move on to variance agenda, BZA 22139, 122 North Broadway, to keep the new garage on the same line as the structures on the property to reduce the side yard setback from 3 feet to 0 feet. This would be a new building on the same line. As I understand it, you are converting the existing garage into workshop space and creating a new garage to actually function as a garage.
That's yeah.
Can you say your name and?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Kevin Mack, and I'm the son of Joe and Judy Mack, who are right here with me today. I'm just talking to this for them on their behalf.
Okay, thanks. And just so you know, folks, we're doing this to make it more discussion oriented, but if we have to speak loudly enough for you to hear. So if you're in the back and you can't hear, please raise your hand and we will speak up. If you're here to speak on it, you will get a chance to speak on it. He will give a presentation, and there'll be questions from the committee. If there's a commissioner wishes to give Brian Hudfer isn't here, but the commissioner wants to give a report on it, he can do that. And we'll then have bring in any questions from the public or comments from the public. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I guess I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do today or what I would need to bring. I'm assuming that everyone has a copy of the application or has had a chance to take a look at it. Essentially, the background on this, the property itself that I had commented to was these units were once collectively owned by like an investment group, and they were just on one piece of property and owned by one management group. And so when they decided to sell them off to everyone, they split the property line just right down the middle of the units. And I guess when we went back with the folks in the offices of the city that were helping us try to figure out the history and what had happened, that for whatever reason there was no variance or anything stated at that time when they made that, because that would have been in violation of your structure zoning permits and stuff. So, but anyway, so now when we've gone to try to do this garage addition, this problem sort of rears itself. And essentially what we're talking about, and I think it's in that package of information, is that if you look at the garage structures today, there's a center a cinder block wall that's essentially the shared wall. And what we're proposing is to convert the existing garage that's there into a workshop. And then we wanna add a garage in front of that. And my father, I would probably let him come up and speak to his own desires to have this workshop and stuff, but, he does a lot of, woodworking and crafts and other things, and currently this causes him to often have to park all of his cars outside in the driveway for extended periods of time. He actually in the past had a truck stolen in his drive because of leaving and having to leave it out all the time. And so, in an effort to remedy that, we decided it would be nice to actually have this workshop space dedicated to him, and then be able to build a garage on the front. That garage would actually be a little bit wider to the other side of the property, away from where we're looking for a variance. It still would be within, but the other objective is to try to get just a bit wider garage, because as they get older, getting the vehicles into the garage and being able to open the doors and have enough room to get in and out is, would just be a nice thing to have. So basically, we've been in discussions with the neighbors. I think Stephen, you had sent me a thing with some good suggestions about trying to talk to our neighbors and get some letters and things from them. If you're familiar with that area, there's basically 8 condo units along there. I think that we've probably owned ours there longer than anybody. We've been part of this community for almost 35 years. We have great relations with all of our neighbors, and so we've been in discussions with them. We would have no problem providing those letters. We don't have them with us tonight just because of the timing and constraints for me to get in here and help facilitate that process. But we did spend quite a bit of time. We tried to do it yesterday, but we ended up having to do it this afternoon with Tanya, who is the neighbor that we actually share the wall with on the garage. And so we're going through the details with her and talking about some of the potential issues that could arise. And she's expressed a desire to do the same thing. She wants to extend her garage now. And so part of why I came here tonight, I guess, is to kind of ask, like, because we're moving forward and we still would like to move forward on that track, but now she's saying, well, we think we might like to do that too. And then I said, well, that brings up a whole other set of tales that I don't even begin to understand. When you build a shared structure across 2 pieces of property, like, is that 1 building permit? Is that 2 building permits? Is it 2 variance applications? Is it 1 variance application? Is it a joint variance application or a joint building permit? So these are the kinds of questions that just came up this afternoon. And so essentially, I guess that's why we're here, to, get some feedback from, of course, the broader community on any issues that they may feel related to the project. But in terms of our existing, I guess I'll call them like the condominium community, I don't think that anyone in there has any issue at all with what we're proposing to do.
Okay. Are you from the, you're from the public?
I know.
Okay, you will get a turn. The way it works is we ask questions and then we go to the public.
Okay.
I promise you, you will get a chance to speak on this.
Yes, so one would.
Okay, can you make sure you speak loudly enough?
Well, I just pulled the picture up on Google Earth, and so this is you, the 122 is on this side, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And then this is the garage, or you say you want to put another structure
No,
to the,
actually,
on this side.
it's on right out the
north
front.
side.
Exactly.
So it's going to be detached from the north side.
That's correct. It'll be over top the existing blacktop driveway that's currently in place there.
It's somewhat attached to the existing garage.
It'll be 100% attached, but it will no longer be a garage. That will be converted into a workshop. The garage door will be removed. The wall will be placed in there with like a double access door, just to get bigger tools and things in and out from one of the the garage to the workshop, but it would no longer be a garage.
Was it get wider?
Yeah,
Was it
again, I
wider
think it's
here?
in that, packet, and I unfortunately didn't bring a physical copy, I have it on my computer here, but it comes out, that's what I was saying, one of the issues right now is those garages are pretty narrow, so since we're gonna put in a new structure, we're coming out, I believe it's about 2 more feet on the right side, so it will jut out a bit, but it'll still be 3 feet from the existing property line. So that side, we didn't, request a variance or anything because it fell within the existing guidelines.
So it will be right up against Tanya's property line.
It would sit aligned exactly with the existing wall, which would put it on the property line.
And that's the 3 feet to 0 feet.
That's the
That's
zero.
correct.
Is the condo unit that you're building.
Yeah, it's the one attached right to his Tanya. I mean, we've known Tanya, Tanya used to live in that unit herself. I don't know if she moved in like back when I actually lived there at one time myself, when I went to school at OSU. Like I said, we've been there for a really long time, but we have a wonderful relationship with Tanya. We would never do anything that would upset our neighbors. And in fact, I'll be certainly interested to hear of anyone that does have issues, because the people that we certainly know in our immediate surrounding have not had any concerns, so.
I have a question about there's a condo association there?
No, there's not.
There's not. So is it technically designated as fee simple ownership rather than a condo?
It's-
They're townhomes.
They're
You would have
they're
to talk
single,
to
they're,
people.
I've been there the longest of anyone,
Yeah,
and they are single, homes. And
single family attached.
exactly,
So then don't
and
call
the
it a
deeds,
condo.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine, I mean.
Single
the
family
deed-
attached.
yeah,
They're
and the
whole
deed
different
goes
things.
right
Sure, that's
straight
fine.
down.
Right.
Sure.
So the realtors here diagonally from each other agree, call it single family attached.
Sure,
Because if it's a condo, then the condo association has,
I'm fine,
There's
we're
a
your
whole
universe,
little thing
we're your
going.
universe, we'll use whatever word you want.
yeah, single family attached. So you'll
Tomato,
remember
tomato.
that when you go before CHC and
I'll
before
make
the
a note
city,
of it. Single family attached.
single family attached, right? Then you don't have to worry about the, condo
That way they don't get confused.
implications, right? Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
How big is this garage exactly?
Again, I would have to look at the drawing, I see so many things in a day with different prints and stuff, I don't really remember the exact dimensions, but I wanna say, looks like the garage is 22 feet wide.
It says 21 point, no, that's existing.
It's like 22 by 26.
Yeah, 22 by 26, exactly.
And does it have a second floor?
No.
Do you have elevations, drawings?
Here's a west elevation, there is an elevation in the application,
I thought I didn't see one.
it's just not.
There is a photo generated one that we had, I don't know that's in this package, but we actually, one of the neighbors has that right now.
Bring that to the area commission meeting.
Sure.
What would happen if you did the 3 feet instead of the 0 feet? What would be the implications of that?
You would have, you would gain no benefit to adding a new garage because you would have no additional width. One of the reasons why we want to put on the new garage is so that they can fit their vehicles in it properly. And losing that 3 feet, like if we don't do that, we probably, like that's everything. It's like there's no, it's a kind of, the workshop and the garage, that was part of what made it really hard in the beginning, because we actually wanted to come off of that 0 setback, right? But as soon as we did, we're like, the garage is no wider than the garage we have, like, why are we gonna spend all this money to like make an improvement that doesn't give us more, so.
Can you fit 2 cars in your current garage? They just have to be small cars.
Yeah, they've got right now, like, my dad used to have a Ford F-250, and and then my mom's car was like an Explorer, and so those two were impossible. So this 250 sat outside for years, and that's the one that was actually stolen and never recovered. Now they have two Teslas, and those are fitting in the garage. It's a Model 3 and a Model Y, but the Cybertruck's coming, and so we're afraid that'll be back in the driveway again if we don't have a garage that's actually gonna fit it. And so that's why it's.
So you're saying that the height of the new garage
Will be the same as the existing, but like I say, that's based on the project as it sits today. If we ended up doing a joint project, which was being talked about just this afternoon, because of the fact that, if you think about how your roof line goes, if you built that new structure out and the roof line being this way, you would end up with a pitch that would require the variance to have to be modified, because my guess is your roof line would probably end up being, I think, what is it, 15 feet?
It's 15 feet,
Yeah,
or
so-
you need a variance.
Yeah, exactly. So I think 13 feet is what it's at now, because it would tie in to be the exact same height essentially as the existing.
I'm just gonna say one more thing, and
Sure.
it's about variances.
Mhm.
And I completely believe and accept that your relationship with your neighbors
Sure.
is fabulous.
Yeah.
The variance goes with the property. So the fact that you have a good relationship with this neighbor doesn't mean that somewhere down the road this might, that's why we have sometimes a hard time with variances, because we know we're not making a decision for you and your neighbor, we're making a decision for the neighbors of the future.
For sure, but my only caveat there would be that they come in knowing what they got.
Oh, for sure, yes, if you built it and somebody bought it, then I don't know, but we have to make this decision based on down the road.
Sure, we talked about that today ourselves, just because we're like, oh, well, we all love each other and get along great, but who knows?
If that's all it
30
ever
years from
was,
now.
right, if that's all it ever was,
Sure.
it'd be great.
But no matter what, it's the future owners are gonna have a house that touches, literally touches itself, so if they can't get along with the garage,
Right,
But they have it already,
yeah,
regardless of
I know.
what we do.
right.
they have to get along.
That's what we were talking about today too, because we're like, if she ended up making it come out the same, then it's like, it seems like to be a no-brainer to us in terms of, in that case, we still have to have a variance for, the roof height or whatever, right? But to me, like, that situation creates nothing new, because you already share buildings and a shared one, like, that situation would create nothing new. This situation creates a little.
But if these are separate properties, then whatever she might wanna do would require another variance, another application, another building permit.
Because as it's
Yeah,
own
it-
parcel.
It's not gonna be anything that can be,
Sure.
like, let's do this together, kind of.
Sure, but it would have to be, I guess, just from a practical standpoint, when you're coordinating like building inspection and like, that would have to be done on some shared level. I could understand it might be like a joint 2 applications and 2 fees or whatever,
Right.
else.
You still have to pay this.
And I can't tell you whether you could amend this, you might be able just to amend yours and she file one, that's.
Or just
yeah.
use the exact same
But-
thing, just flipped over.
But he might not have to pay a new fee, he might be able to amend this.
No, I meant the neighbor.
Yeah, so it sounds like, because that's part of what I told Tanya I would find out tonight, is that she would basically need to do the same thing that I'm doing right now.
And but you'd also probably need to change yours, because if you're coming up with if you want a height variance in addition to the setback, you'd
Then
have
you would
to.
need
come
Yeah,
up-
no, 100%, you're 100%
But you've already
right.
filed.
Both of our variants, mine would have to be modified and hers would have to include it from the onset.
But you've already filed, so you can amend it.
Yes. And one thing I'd say, if you decide to do that in the next week, to let me and or David Patero, the commission, know so that they can take it off their agenda, so they can plan to do other things in that time frame. But you are on this agenda. The one thing I say we owe applicants is a yes or a no, and I think the commission owes you a yes or no if that's what you want. And so that's your choice about whether you want to postpone it, you want to ask them to table it, or whatever.
Well, I guess like here's like sort of as I see the road, right, is it's like Tanya's not 100% sure, but we had the most significant conversation we've had today. I was in town, we sat literally at the garage and physically talked through it. I don't know, like economically, like once she hears what the price is, like she's saying she's interested, but she's not got her checkbook out and said, I'm ready to sign the check and do it.
Right.
So I wanted to leave here today with new information, because I told her all these possibilities, which she's asking about too, but I said, I don't even know the answers, like if you'd have to do your own variance, or if I would, or.
I don't
I
know.
think she would.
Yeah, I think she would definitely have to do her own, and the commission voting isn't the official city action, it's BZA that's the final action. So I guess as long as you don't go to BZA, you could always, something in the past they've done, if applicants end up needing a variance that wasn't considered, what the city will do is they'll contact me and David Vitero, and I'm sure whoever the commissioner, the commissioner for the district, and say, is this significant enough that it needs to go back through? And I'm sure for height variance, that would be, given a height, there are enough commissioners that are concerned about height variances that I think they'd say, yes, that needs to come back through, especially since it'd be new plans. See, normally that's like, that passes if all of a sudden, like one of the bureaucrats discovers, oh, we should have asked for this variance in addition to that, because they need this variance to make the same plans that have just been approved work. But if you want to change it, then you'd have to then it would definitely have to come back to this. Whether that's a new application or not, with a new fee, that's up to the city. But I think until you go to BZA, you can modify it and ask to come back. I don't see any reason why you couldn't be.
That's Jamie, that I was working with there.
Breeze.
Yeah, okay,
Mhm.
that's.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah, sure.
So how far out would this garage go on, this
Well,
thing?
pretty much if you look at that visual, right, and you drew a line right down the middle of that garage, and that center between the driveways, you see that island that's sort of in between there with the rocks and stuff?
Yeah.
Like that would be the property line, and the wall would be right along the property line. That's the current plan.
I mean, how far will it come out this way?
Oh, I'm
How far
sorry,
is the
26
vertical
feet,
go?
26 feet in front.
I
of
know,
the
I'm
existing.
just trying to get an idea of where that would be.
Oh,
It's a
I
little
think
less
like,
than
see
that.
that rock in the bed there, that first rock towards the bed?
Yeah.
I believe it's like
Right
between
around
that and the second one,
Okay.
like somewhere around there is where it comes
Like
back.
around here.
It actually is, because we see a lot of the driveways along that alley there.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always loved having just an absolutely massive driveway compared to almost everyone.
Yeah.
And it's still a very substantial driveway even with the addition.
Yeah,
Looks like it's about 60 feet from the current garage to the alley.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and you'd be using about a third of it.
Yeah, 26 feet. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's fortunate you're the end unit, and so is your neighbor. It's just the two of you are attached to one another.
Yeah.
So if she does decide to go forward, this would be the most economical time for her to do it,
For sure.
rather than 3 years from now,
Yeah.
decide, hey, I wanna change my garage too,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, I just don't know what she was just mentioning, kids, college, starting, that kind
Right.
of, so just being
Right.
pragmatic on the
Yeah,
realities.
yeah,
But yeah.
but I
appreciate
think,
that.
yeah, cause it is a separate parcel number, in my opinion, she'll have to,
I sort of remember when they built them,
was the
they didn't,
eighties.
and then they did.
Yeah, I mean, we love the place, like when we, originally got it, it was in our lease agreement that we would have first option to buy it if they decided to sell them. I don't think we hardly leased it, I think we ended up buying it almost immediately because they decided to sell them.
I remember back when they built them, it was a big kerfuffle. It was a big thing.
Well, I can imagine.
One of those in
What are those
Clintonville.
in Clintonville,
Yeah.
believe it or not? That kerfuffle, yeah. Thank
So,
you.
so the converted garage to a workshop, is that gonna have like plumbing or anything like that? Or is it just electricity to operate the machine?
Pretty much just electricity. I can't say like for the long term, if you might wanna try to run some water out there or something. I mean, I think, the only thing would be to maybe put a hose barb for like washing cars out front in the driveway or something, but right now, there's no plans of anything like that. It's just, he spends a lot of his time out there. I mean, he has a great setup, but to utilize it, he like has to pull everything out of the garage, and then he gets everything out, his work tables, his saws, and then he sets up, and it's great, but then my mom's upset because then the evening comes and she can't pull in, and he doesn't wanna, how the projects go. It's like if you pack up everything and put the whole workshop away, it's like you spend 10 more hours that week just packing up and closing everything open and close every night, and I think, it's probably more important now than ever for my dad to have those kinds of resources.
Any other questions from the committee before we hear from the neighbors who've come to talk? Okay, can you give your name and name for us, please?
Yes, I'm Charlene Gigline. I own 114 West North Broadway, and I've owned it since 1988. So the lady on my right here, when she said she remembers that they were built, I actually knew the builders. So Mr. Zonak and Mr. Daniels who built it, and in fact I purchased the one from Mr. Zonak because he and his wife lived in it for about 18 months after they were built, while they were building a new home in Arlington. And I just learned about this from my tenant 2 days ago. There was a note put on the door. I did send an email to the commissioner and Mr. Pfeiffer, which I've yet to receive a response from. But I didn't understand exactly from the note, what was going on. So that's why I live out of town, that I came in town this evening to find out, what was going on. And after hearing, the size of the building and what exactly it is, I have some concerns about parking in the back because, as Kevin did say, we do have wonderful parking in the back. And with how far the structure's coming out, I'm not sure how many.
26 feet.
Right, but what I was meaning to say was, with the structure coming out that far, I don't know how many parking spots in your driveway you're giving up and how many will be remaining.
4 cars will still be able to park in the driveway, which is more than enough for our needs.
Well,
Does that implicate you somehow, our parking?
No, I was just curious because, again, we have
Sure, that's a fair
nice
question.
parking because people come up and down the alley, and if I lived there for many years.
So have I.
And so,
Don't
longer
argue
than
with
you.
them. Just give her a chance to speak.
But with cars coming back and forth from Kroger's or doing a cut through from High Street into the neighborhood, you can't have 2 cars side by side in the alley. So cars do come over into the driveways, which is fine because I want people to be safe. But that was a concern. Just with how I didn't understand how far it was coming out, so I'm glad that we have a better understanding about that. And then I guess there's a concern about the aesthetics. They're, if you want to call them units, it's the single family structure. But of the 8, their building is the 3rd building from, if you're coming west from High Street. And so, when you were showing the picture there, it's really like into the property as far as where that structure would be. And, if it would prohibit any of the folks on either side and even farther up, when you're backing out of your garage and in your driveway, being able to see up and down the alley. Again, I wasn't sure how far the structure was coming out.
Can you show her that one of the hard copies so she can see it? I apologize. I responded. I missed it. I found an email right above yours and missed yours as I was going through.
Sure,
That's okay. It was just, I hadn't seen anything, and I was curious what was going on.
Let's give me a second here. I want to make sure I get her the and send her.
There's 2 different plans in there.
That's on me. Go ahead and speak to her concerns.
Oh, well, I appreciate all of them. I think those are things that we've thought through ourselves, but I think that those concerns, I think when you look at the layout, none of them have merit. The issue of like blocking view of people coming down that alley, you're still talking about like a 35-some foot driveway. I got a neighbor right behind me whose garage is 3 or 4 feet from the alleyway. So that doesn't make any sense.
So can you please give her the benefit of good faith? I think
Sure,
the
no, that's what I said.
conversation
It's a great thing to bring up, but I think now that she has the layout, I think that shows that concern, for me, I don't understand it, but I'm glad she's here to bring up concern. I have no issue with that.
I just sent you an email with the link to the application that includes the driveway.
Oh, thank you so much.
I should have done that before the meeting.
And the other comment I make, as far as people coming up into the yards and cutting through, like, that's not a big problem in the past, and I guess I don't have the same opinion of that it's just okay to drive up through the yards because the cars can't go down the alley. I mean, we have a telephone pole for one right at the end of our yard in the driveway, so there's nobody that's coming through there anyways because of the telephone pole, and you can look at that on Google Maps. And on the other side, we've already built up concrete and put those rocks that you see, and that just to eliminate that concern, because people were doing it in the way that we felt was exactly the opposite. We thought it was more dangerous for people to be driving their cars up through our yards. And, you know, part of the problem, quite honestly, is because they've got that close off the Kroger's of that one roadway, and so it drives all that traffic down that alley. I don't think that's news to anybody.
Any other, do you have any other concerns you'd like to express?
No, it was about, you know, the fact about, you know, parking concern. You know, the cars going up and down the alley aren't driving in our yards. They're literally pulling over into our driveway so the other cars can get by. And it's just a courtesy thing. I mean, if you've lived in Clintonville a long time, you know how that courtesy is with people going, you know, with two-way streets, and particularly living off of an alley.
But let her.
Please.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I shouldn't have. Okay, is there anyone? Yes, sir.
I feel like I've been put in a bad position. I mean, I dearly love Joe and Judy. No question about that.
Can you say your name and where you're?
Oh, it's Kim Anderson. I live 2 doors away at 116 West North Broadway. Going back to when the places were first built in 1983, I was told that there was a big, like you said, a big kerfluffle about whatever, and a lot of that had to do with how far the garages initially were intended to be out. And the neighbors finally kind of gave in at that time, as long as the garages were pushed back further towards the house. Then they went ahead with the thing. And I know over the years that, you know, Joe has been very, you know, likes to have a real nice neighborhood and likes to have everything, you know, look concise and look, you know, what have you. And at one point, you know, when I was going to put a fence up because I had the dogs, 3 dogs ago, then, you know, they weren't real happy about it. And there was no fight about anything or anything, but I thought, well, you need to respect the idea that he liked to look down and see everything as one big yard. You know, I didn't go ahead and do that. Another thing with Tanya, I'm very disappointed that she didn't show up tonight because she has been on that phone with me for the last 3 days, calling left and right. And I talked to her about an hour before this meeting, and she informed me of what the conversations were for last night and today. And I said, well, did you tell him that you don't want this? Well, not really. And I don't want to be the bitch in the deal, is what it boiled down to. So that's why she's not here tonight. She said that she had enough. She was fed up. She wasn't having any plans to go about having anything done with this. So she's just kind of sitting back and entertaining this idea. If you'd like to see my phone, to see all the phone calls, you're more than welcome. So, and I know the other neighbors, because I thought, well, let me just ask some of the other neighbors and see what's that. And I was no, down the road. And 2 of them were supposed to be here tonight too. They're elderly. They apparently weren't able to show up. I know the one's husband, he drags the oxygen thing around with him, and he's been sick lately, so I'm sure that's why they didn't come. So it's just the whole thing. I mean, I'm just surprised. I'm surprised if you're even entertaining this at this point, because over the last 3 months, we've had conversations about you were going to sell the house, and because you wanted to be in a different place because of Joe's health and what the diagnosis was. And then there was a conversation about well, now we're gonna go on vacation for a long time. And next door telling me, well, now we're gonna go down to Florida for the winter. And I think that this is jumping around. I feel it's jumping around to try to find, and I feel for everybody. I don't want to speak for Judy. Well, I got the sense that Judy really doesn't want it, and I don't know how the kids are with, so I mean, I know Joe, he bites into, you bite into stuff that you want this, and you focus, and you get that tunnel vision and focus on that. And there's been a lot of unsteadiness, and I'm looking out also for the safety of somebody that's 80 years old in there with his health failing and working around power tools that he could accidentally be hurt.
Don't, if we're not having that, no, we're not going to.
Offensive.
Look, we're going to keep this civil. And the reason we have public comment is so that people can give their opinions. Everyone gets a chance to speak. Go ahead. Is there someone else who hasn't spoken who would like to speak? One thing you do, I can talk, if health conditions is what's stopping someone from showing up at this meeting or the commission's meeting, have them contact either me or David Vitero, and I can talk to him about scheduling so that they don't have to sit and wait. If maybe you can hear, I'll talk to David Vitero, see if there's a way to hear someone out of turn.
Or just send me.
Or just send a letter. Or send a letter. I think we're having what people who aren't here think. I think given the controversy, they need to speak for themselves. So I would suggest to people who know Tanya to ask her to send an email to me or to David Vitero so that it goes before the commission, so that if she wants to speak, her opinion is heard through her own voice. Because I get leery about people speaking for others when people disagree about what they say. And the other thing I just commented is typically when I get mailing labels, they go to the owners and not the residents. I don't always like that, but I think one thing you may want, if this goes to BZA, you may want to make sure, check your mailing labels, because ownership is different than residents here and owners have different interests, make sure that you have on the mailing labels the owners, not just the residents, because that's all, maybe they're.
I have all the owners, that's the only thing on the mailing list, I didn't give you residents, I gave you owners of the properties, and so, but I only gave you their addresses because nowhere is it listed. Like I tried at some of them, like to see if I could find, like if they had a business address to give you, but like, you have the name of the owner and you have the address of the property.
I think if somehow you get lists of I get lists of owner from every other applicant I've gotten lists of owners, names and owners. I mail things to Florida.
I've asked repeatedly, and I'll go back to Jamie and ask again. Like I'm all about process, so it's like I'm trying to follow it. But when I said how do I do it, like they said go to this site and do this. Like it does it for you automatically. And I told them I went to the site and I can't figure out how to get it to work. It doesn't work, so I had to manually do that.
Well, then I think you need to talk to Jamie or the people in there, because especially at the BZA level, it's important for owners to make sure because if someone goes, in fact, you may want to do that sooner rather than later, and I can try to get out mailings to owners who are listed. Please tell them of the commission meeting next week, because the last thing you want someone to do is to go to BZA and say, here's something I would have told the commission if I would have had a chance, but I wasn't given notice, because that allows them to undercut what the commission did.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll go back to Jamie and make sure I understand.
And I do like tomorrow if you can, to make sure that we, I can get mail. I mean, this time because I was out of town, I ended up hand delivering the notes.
Yeah.
But I didn't want. I'd rather. But out of town owners, you have to mail it to. And that is important. And I mailed the school district, I mailed them to all sorts of
And
places.
sometimes you can find those at the treasurer's office. When you look at the tax bill mailing address, is if they own cash, or I mean, if there's no mortgage on it, or if their property taxes on escrow, that's where their address can be found.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The strongest argument someone can make for the later meeting in this is I didn't have a chance to be heard because they left.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we've been trying real hard to do everything according to the process. So
okay.
certainly.
Okay, is there someone else from the public who hasn't spoken? Do we have other questions from the committee about this? Okay, we have a motion to approve on the floor. We've already.
Well, I just wanted to add on to something that you said because I wasn't too thrilled about the way that you acted. When Kevin spoke up and said he was talking about the conversation he had with Tanya, I was simply stating the conversations that she's been having with me.
Okay, I get that.
Okay.
I'm not
speaking for her.
Please don't stop. I think I'm gonna end this conversation because I think we covered. I'm not accusing anyone of lying or of being dishonest, but we have different people expressing what her opinion is and differently. And it is possible for two people to say different things and have them both be completely truthful, especially if it's a neighbor who doesn't want to make whoever they're speaking with at the time upset. And that's why I think it's especially important for her, if she wants to have her voice heard, to speak her voice. Because I'm going to stick. That's my opinion. Other people would have different opinions. I am not accusing you, sir, of lying. Absolutely.
Oh no, I didn't say it was lying, but I just was trying to make it.
No,
that.
I believe. I think we've covered it, and we're all on the same page about at least what may have happened, what happened outside of this meeting. Is there any other questions from the committee on this? If we have a motion on the now we have a motion on the floor. Now we have time for comment. The second
Discussion.
Yes.
So, I think, looking out the back door, because you look out the back door, then there's your garage, and you want to build the additional garage to the north of that. It's really not inhibiting anyone's enjoyment of the backyard. You know what I mean? Visually, it's only between the garage and the alley. Okay. I need to hear from Tanya, because that's the person that to me is most important. This is the person that you're asking to have zero setback from. And I need to know what her thought is. And I'm getting conflicting stories. So I want to hear from Tanya.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote down, and I don't know the answer, but what I wrote down is precedent important here? And I don't know the answer. Because this would certainly be an important precedent for this, especially the way the houses are coming, single family attached,
Right.
are all attached to each other. You've got one.
They're not exactly, there's one person attached.
Right, but I mean, it's like an enclave.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens with one is going to ripple, whether they all try to do the same thing or not. It's to me, this is a precedent, and I don't know if it's important.
Yes, my thought on precedent is there's no such. It's not really illegal. We don't set legal precedents, but as a matter of fairness, we want to be I look at it as a matter of consistency. That if we say no to him, that it would be really unfair to if another neighbor came and asked for the same thing to say yes to it.
And vice versa.
And vice
If you say yes to him, then
yes.
you have to say yes.
Yeah. Unless commissions could change, even if there's a different commission, we're going to have different commissioners in January than we have.
I wrote it down. I don't know.
But I think the answer is it's always a powerful argument. You did X for my neighbor, and I'm in the same situation, so you should do X for me. Whether that's yes or a no, I'm not going to speak to it, but I personally think we do. If you want to use the word precedent to mean this is a guideline for future decision making, I would say yes, it is a guideline for future decision making, not set in stone. But I think you'd want to give a darn good reason for doing something different for someone who seems to be similarly situated. That's again, that is the one. There's going to be it could be a very different commission in January than there is next week. So I can't tell you, and one commission can't find another. Does anyone else have?
I agree with Mike. I think that hearing from the neighbors most impacted, the adjacent neighbors, critical to making a decision.
Yes, I think I do agree with that I would very much like to hear from Tanya, but these are unique properties where they go into this knowing that, they share a wall with their neighbor, so the, you know, the property line is already, everything is right there, so, it is his property to do with this if he wishes, and Tanya is already in the boat she's in, so. I lean towards yes, but I would like to know what Tanya would think.
Anyone else have comment? Yes. Well, I am concerned that neighbors who live in a very similar thing, this is unique in terms, we're used to having differences, different houses all along the way, but now everyone bought into the idea, people who moved with the idea that these aren't gonna look the same. On the other hand, I don't understand, to me, that there's a huge, right now that's pavement. And I don't see how a 13-foot garage is worse than pavement. I'm not sure which, to me that doesn't, but I don't live next to it, and I'm still struggling which way I would vote to. The main reason concern is that I think for many of us, Tanya, finding out what your neighbor thinks of this is important. I think it's gonna be important for the commission, and she's gonna have to speak to her own voice.
Sure.
Given the controversy, she has to send either, if she really wants to have her voice heard, I'd ask her to either show up at the meeting and speak, or send an email, or both. But, and I'm telling this to the people who know where it is. And I also ask all of you to please be respectful of Tanya, because she has to live with all of you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, we have a great relationship.
No, I know, but, and they're saying this, but there's people upset about this, and have different views on this, and just respectful. And I think
I'm not upset. I came here
concerned.
because I had not received any information, and I came here from an understanding.
Then I apologize, I put words into your, I described your emotions and your feelings where I shouldn't have done that. I apologize for that, that's not fair.
Yeah,
But
so it was all about understanding and trying to see what was going on, because I hadn't been spoken to about the structure.
That's, okay, I get it, and I apologize for putting words in your mouth. And I normally at this point don't try to get on it, but since I mischaracterized you, I'm glad you had a chance to correct me. But please just, if you folks can find a way to get along, that would be great. But I think his thing does need to be, he has an application that needs to be decided on its own merits. And if other people want to have comments, I won't force myself to have the last word. Okay, let's vote, starting with Diane. I'll start with Mike, and then I'll go around this way.
As much as I want to hear from Tanya, I am going to vote yes on this. I think, covering up concrete is between a garage and an house. But hopefully we'll hear from Tanya before the commission. I'll say yes tonight.
Yes.
I'm gonna say no for the same reason. Because I do think it's important, and when we hear these cases, we hear from immediate neighbors, or we hear from the commissioner that has talked to the immediate neighbors, and we've heard nothing. There's a void out there that I'm not comfortable with. And I don't see a huge problem with this application. The only problem I have is that the lack of communication from neighbors and commissioner. So I'm saying no.
I'm going to abstain since we have these conflicting things about Tanya, and she is the person most impacted.
I'm gonna say yes, because we haven't heard from Tanya, and I think if there was concerns, she should have brought them to the table here tonight.
I'm gonna say yes as well. I would like to hear from Tanya, but she's not here, and she already lives in a situation where she shares walls with neighbors, so just an extension.
And then Chair's going, since it doesn't matter and I have to present this to commission, I'm going to abstain on this. But I also do want to I do share the concerns. On its merits, if without public comment, I would vote yes on this, but I think I would like to hear more from neighbors, but I also would like to have a chance to be more objective when we give the presentation. And I will let Brian, email Brian. I email Brian Pfeiffer. Brian Pfeiffer his email address is on the commission's website. He is your commissioner for this area. I would also make sure.
The other gentleman that was
Yes.
on that.
Yeah, so I would, if you have concerns, he's gonna be the one voting next week. I have no vote next week. He has a vote next week. So I would send your concerns or support to Brian, and I will tell him that I think I have no idea what his week's gonna be like, but he may need to reach out. It may be wise for him to reach out and start talking to people, because this is why we have commissioners, so they can represent the district and speak for, and find out the consensus.
Just to clarify, I recommended approval 4 to 1
Oh.
to abstain.
Yes, 4-1, you're right. I should have, motion passes 4-1 to 2. I should have said that. That's my job as chair. That's all. That ends this discussion. We have one more item on our agenda. This will go before the full commission next week on Thursday at the library.
Yeah, November 3rd.
Whatever Thursday is next week. Thursday.
Well, the first is.
First is Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's the third. It's at 7 o'clock. The zoning agenda usually starts somewhere between 7:30 and 7:45, but I'd be there at 7 just to be safe. And they probably won't spend as much time. They won't spend as much time there as we did here. But so get your thoughts and your concerns and get them to Brian, especially to Brian Pfeiffer. And I appreciate if you CC me so I get the presentation. I know.
Sure.
I think it's CAC district. Is it actually? I can find out. I'll just give them right now so they have it. I know what it is. But I want to make sure they have it. Brian.
Brian's address is at Gmail, so it's,
Is it CAC2?
yes,
I said, oh, here.
cacdistrict2@gmail.com.
right.
CAC District 2 at Gmail. Yeah, let him know. He will give a commissioner's report. CC me in case he won't. Every once in a while, commissioner's not there. You can also email, all the other commissioners are on the website. You can email them all if you want. They have no problem. That's their job is to read the comments. But it's Brian's job and my job to summarize those to the commission. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to everyone for coming here. The commission is the official voice of the community when it comes to that, and BZA makes the final decision.
Yeah, well, thank you for your consideration, and we appreciate the work you do. It is a beautiful community, and you love being part of it, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now we have one more item on our agenda, and, are you here? The demolition?
I'm the demo guy, yeah. I apologize for being late. Somebody tried to break in my house, so I had a little bit of a fiasco.
No,
Trying to sort through that, so I was a little late.
Okay, by the way, and the rest of you, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want, or you're also welcome to leave. We won't be offended by you. So let's go back to the demolition permit for this is 3810 North High Street. Okay, and can you give your name?
Yeah, very fast.
Who do you represent?
Commercial waste removal.
Okay, and how much time do you have left on your 60 days?
I haven't looked. I was in the city today, and I probably should have asked, but I didn't really look. But when you emailed me, I was like, well, I'll make it to the meeting. So.
Well, no, and that's
Yeah.
it probably your appearance probably isn't necessary, but I also don't want you to get denied because someone had a question that you couldn't answer.
Right.
So, do people have questions? This is a mixed commercial residential unit, and you just want to tear down the garage.
Yeah. So basically, tear down the garage, haul it away. Pretty straightforward process for us. It's done with a mini excavator, so it's not really difficult.
Just you know, excuse me, just a, your whispering may be going out on the internet. I can't hear.
Okay.
I want to warn. I
forgot. Yes.
I'm sorry for. I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. So these jobs are performed with a mini excavator, dumpsters on site. We own a dumpster company, so basically, we back it up, we punch it up, haul it away. In this case, he's going to put down gravel at the end, so it'll be a nice clean clean surface, so you'll have a much more aesthetically pleasing situation at the end. So, other than that, I mean, it's just, if you guys have any questions, I do this every day. I can answer any big, small questions you may, whatever you've got. But
So it's just the garage?
it's just the garage.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions or comments from the public or visiting our commissioners? Okay, do I have a motion to approve waiving the 60-day waiting period?
I move.
Got a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? So approved 7-0. I'm sorry for wasting your time. I just
It's fine. I don't mind coming to these, so I can, put a face with the name, and sometimes it makes life a little easier to, if you know who I am too,
I once told someone
Yeah.
that they didn't need to show up, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden a bunch of people showed up complaining about it, and I vowed myself I would never do that again.
It happens. I mean, we're doing some bigger stuff. I did the building collapse that happened earlier this year, so I've had some different stuff. So
You want to
be
keep
the
going?
last time, so always good to put a
Thank-
face with the name.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming.
you're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
All right.
Back to your troubles, I
Yes,
guess.
I know.
Well-
I'm solving them now. So
Okay.
have a good night, everybody.
Well,
Thank you.
the last thing on the agenda is something really weird, and I don't think we're going to vote. I don't know if we're gonna have anything to vote on here. Commissioner Crowell, it's in Commissioner Crowell's district. We vote, this had happened when I wasn't here.
I chaired that meeting,
You
because I looked it up.
She chaired the meeting. I had a 100-degree fever that day, if I remember right.
That's a nice try.
I got myself, I avoided that, but the committee recommended against it 3-2. It was, I forgot what the total, 2-3, recommended against. The commission voted for it 5-1, knowing exactly what it was. And it seems like there is someone in the city, in the building department, in the building permit area, who's changing their, are you?
My wife is technically the homeowner, but I reside there,
Okay,
so.
okay, so-
Technically, I own it, I think, through marital rights, but I
Okay.
represent 181 Glencoe.
Okay, what I think's going on is someone in the building permits area has come up with a new interpretation of what they need to, what sort of variances need to happen to approve any space where a person could exist above a garage. And I think it's something to do with state building codes and using the word habitable space the way the state uses and the way that the zoning people use it. And there are a lot of apparently high-level meetings going on in the city today and tomorrow and coming up. They told me we cannot get you an answer today. Because it sounds like this is one of those things that has directors in a tizzy going on over there. I don't know. Do you know of anything we can do? Do you have any updates for us and saying that?
So I have about the same updates you do, that the building department is having meetings about this. The thing that they have told us is that because there is water going to the garage, whether or not it's an insulated space or not, they are now considering that to be a dwelling unit because there's plumbing, which the way they're interpreting it, at least in my understanding, is like if you had a utility sink, they're gonna make you jump through these same hoops. We have a bathroom that was on our plans. When we submitted them to you, when we went to the Board of Zoning approval, we wrote on there, because we would like to have a home office above our garage, a workout space, and I don't know about you, but if you're in the middle of a workout and have to pee, you don't wanna have to run out the door, down the stairs, in the house, up the stairs, because we don't have a first floor bathroom in our existing home either, so. So that is where it sits. I am an attorney, and so I don't think their interpretation is 100% correct. But I'm reserving that for the time being, hopefully that we can work something out, because it just doesn't make logistical sense when in one of the variances that we received, it says if you exceed the height and get a variance, it's still not considered a habitable space. And so I think that's just where there's a confusion and there's no variance we could get. Like we asked what is the variance we would need, and we don't have an answer on what.
Thing is, if it's a state building code thing, you can't get a because we can't get variances on the state building code. The city can't get variance. So if that's, if all of a sudden some city bureaucrat thinks the building code says you can't do it ever.
But I would have a hard time, I mean, in the state, my parents own a detached garage with an upstairs, they have a utility sink. I can't imagine that there's a state building code that then says that garage is a habitable space.
Because we're seeing applications all the time where they're running multi lines.
Yeah, this can be this.
Told
We were
But at
told
different
Water
times,
it's
we're told
okay, but
different
you can't put in a
things.
kitchen.
like,
Right.
what's the deal?
And if they're in the process of having this done, and for the city to come in and say like, wait a minute, if the city wants to change the rules, they should be changing it for all future applicants.
Right.
Not
So-
in the middle.
Not in the middle of an
I
application.
mean, this was
is wrong.
December of last year.
We've demolished our garage
This
too,
application was in December
so
of last
this
year.
is
Right.
really an inopportune time.
Yeah, this is,
I mean, I
I'm
applaud
sorry.
them for,
Well, it
making
seems-
this, because we've been struggling with this all along.
Well, they haven't made it.
So
For
I,
many
and then
years.
they haven't made it clear, but I applaud the idea that they might make it clear for us.
So what I
But in
know.
the meantime, no.
Well, they had flip-flopped, I think. The first flip-flop we saw was around the time somebody on Wahala did a studio. And at one time, we thought there could never be a bathroom, but maybe there could be a kitchen, and then it kind of went the other way.
Other way around.
But what I know about that Uniform Ohio Building Code, and you probably know this too, Kelly, every community has to adopt it. So if you were building a house down in Hocking Hills, they have not adopted the Ohio Uniform Building Code. You can build just about anything, including container type rentals. You know, when they were talking about container buildings in Columbus as affordable housing, well, they never got built because of the Ohio Uniform Building Code does not allow that kind of housing. So we've adopted that. Now they've decided, it looks like,
To pull that in and say, oh, we adopted this, and now this conflicts with our building code.
Nothing
So-
we've cited, so not to interrupt, nothing we've cited so far has cited Ohio Building Code.
It hasn't.
Everything has cited the Columbus zoning.
Only that, not the Ohio building code.
I
Okay.
have, and I've
I
looked
could
up
get
the,
one, I could get one comment from, I gotta see which one it was, there are many emails past you. I had basically a 2 hour lunch, my lunch hour was 2 hours today, partly is dealing with this, oh, I can't look. Just noticing it looks like I got a failure notice for the email I sent the person with, who is, so they didn't get notice, I know I had a building code, someone mentioned, one of the emails I got said it sounded like the building permit people it had some influence with the building code. And, you know, the whole rule about using the same words should mean the same thing different places. But maybe, I think the Ohio Building Code uses habitable space differently than the zoning people have. So that'd be my guess.
they could be, I mean, our builder and our architect have also had communications, and I don't think we've been copied on all of it either, so there may be more emails that I'm not privy to.
What are they asking us to do?
Well, the thing is, they aren't.
They are.
His architect said, please put on the agenda so we can, because initially they thought they just had to come back to us. And so, part of the reason they first emailed me Monday and just, Monday, I was out of the office last Wednesday through Friday. I showed up, I had a giant motion due Monday, and I had an oral argument yesterday. So I was not looking at my non-court, she's an attorney, she knows. Yeah, you have a Ohio Supreme Court motion.
No, that takes precedent, I get it.
1,000-page transcript to read for it was, so I started looking at it last night, and then when I saw that, I've said I wanted to get public notice out that we were gonna put this on the agenda for discussion purposes, so that at least we could discuss it, we'd have something on the agenda in case action had happened. It sounds like what Celebrezzi said is that there's nothing for us to do right now, but I thought maybe if there's some sort of motion we can put on the table that would at least put it on the commission's table, commission's work, and I don't know what that would be, a motion for consistency or motion to resolve this?
Consistency would be the word, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
it's unfair.
I'd love to do that. Because basically we had two variances, right? this application had a variance to increase the square footage and height. And that's all.
Had nothing to do
It
with.
had nothing to do with, I mean, the issues that some of us had was the idea that the possibility of turning it into habitable space. But we didn't have any,
It was, it's voted against it was voted against 2 to 3,
Yeah,
and
and then the commission approved.
Did I vote?
I don't know, I only underlined.
voted for it.
Track of you.
but maybe we could do a maybe we could do a just how about a motion to say motion that went to a motion to declare, I guess, that we under the motion to say motion to declare that we knew that there was going to be a bathroom, there was going to be a toilet and a sink in this project when it was voted on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that something? Does that, Andrew? The committee expresses its.
You voted yes, yeah, because they were only asking for a height and something else, and it had nothing to do with running water.
And so, and how did this work? Motion to, is it certify or motion to?
Acknowledge.
To acknowledge, motion to acknowledge that the committee, that the plans the committee voted on included a toilet and a sink.
This doesn't change anything.
And, yeah, it included a toilet and a sink. I think we just that simple.
Yeah.
And,
We.
and to recommend that the commission,
It's changed for us.
and to recommend to the commission that they pass a similar resolution.
If that's what's required, if that's what, I don't.
But I think we can, I think we recommend it, and if things change between now and then, the commission knows that things changed.
Right.
And, yeah, do you think that's,
You don't know.
I am so at a loss on like, because it's, I mean, it already has the zoning approval,
Right.
and so I don't know why building is not approving it.
I think maybe having it.
But I think that would help, because at least then they're like, okay, they weren't hiding the 8 ball, like we never were, we
Well,
were
at
fully
least
transparent.
There's no reason to not keep moving along the line.
Can you read that motion as you have it in the
Yeah, motion to acknowledge that the plans the committee originally voted on include.
how is included a toilet and a sink? Let's be clear that since they're being
Specific.
Well, what it said in the actual written agenda from 2021, and I wasn't at this meeting, that said plumbing is automatically approved by the city, so all we are approving is the square footage and height. So we weren't approving plumbing.
It was in the
We were just
plans.
saying, hey, that's up to the city, right, or it's automatically approved. We were acknowledging it was automatically approved.
And now they're saying it was.
Now they want to backpedal, right?
Because there's also something about how long you have to act on an approved variance.
It's about a year, I think.
It's only about a year.
Although I think they can extend that. That can
Well,
be
they're
extended.
gonna have to make sure they do, is what I'm saying.
Yes,
Because I'm
thank you.
looking at it December, you'll need to make sure that they extend it for you.
Okay, thank you, I'll make sure.
The city goes to say, oh no, it's habitable space, that needs to go to the city council.
I think just, I guess my idea is just to get something in our report to the commission that pushes it into their lap.
Pushes it further down the road.
And then the commission can act on that, do what they think, because there's gonna be a lot, I think there's a lot gonna happen between now and next week. And maybe it'll all be resolved and the commission can say, that's what I hope happens. I hope that this turns into a big nothing burger.
I would like this.
Yeah, so, but so just, can you reread the motion as presented?
Yeah, motion to acknowledge that the plans the committee originally voted on included a toilet and sink.
And I think that's, just leave it like that, and that way it goes to the, and then that goes in our report to the commission, and then the commission can move on it. Okay, do I have a vote on
I moved to.
approve? You have a second?
I'll second.
All, okay, Diane?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
Yes.
Abstain, yes, so approved 6-0 to 1. And the last thing on our agenda is next month's meeting. because it is, I don't think we're going to get many people attending because it is scheduled for the day before Thanksgiving. Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Ours is the unknown. And so do we just want to try to do it 1 week in advance? And I'll have to confirm space with the church. About 1 week, just 1 week early, that pushes a lot of deadlines back. But we could try to do it the 16th. Yes. We do it. So let's plan, I will check with the church to make sure that they have space for, that we can have the space on the 16th. I think it's usually easiest just to keep it on the same day. 11/16.
Well, it seems so soon, but I guess we have Thanksgiving, right?
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn? And all in favor? Opposed? Granted 7-0 at 8:10.